Looch On Ice, we break it down each week. Puck drops hard, hear the fans all scream. From the highlight reels, we catch every peak. In the fast lane, we live the hockey dream. Stick handling magic, every move's a skill. Looch On Ice, we got the weekly scoop. From power plays to the hardest hits in the loop. Join the ride, feel that action, no excuse. NHL Roundup with a hockey news crew. Goals and assists, the numbers never lie. From golden gloves to the rivalries that fly. On ice battles, real grit and we pride. With Looch on the mic, we rise to the sky. Every play's electric, they give us a thrill. Looch on Ice, we got the weekly scoop. From power plays to the hardest hits in the loop. On the ride, feel that action, no excuse. NHL Roundup with a hockey news crew. The numbers never lie. From golden gloves to the rivalries that fly. On ice battles, real grit and we pride. With Looch on the mic, we rise to the sky. Every play's electric, they give us a thrill. Looch on Ice, we got the weekly scoop. From power plays to the hardest hits in the loop. Join the ride, feel that action, no excuse. NHL Roundup with a hockey news crew. So lace up tight, let's roll with the fight. Looch on Ice, hockey vibes feeling right.
What's happening, Jeff? What's going on?
Not much. What's going on, pal?
Yeah, we are back after what, one night?
Seems like we were just here last night.
Yeah, we were, man.
That
we
week
covered
went by fast, didn't it?
Yeah. We covered the draft last night. It was not what we expected, but unfortunately, the Rangers ended up in fifth.
Well, you know what? I think I saw, when I posted on Facebook when I posted the link to the show. I told people that I went down in my lair last night and got my evil lair and came up with a grand plan. If Chris Drury and Mike Greer listen to me, it'll solve everybody's problems. Everybody happy. Everybody get what they want. We'll talk about that after we, talk to our special guest tonight. But I got a plan.
All right, nice.
I think people will like it.
It's not getting punched by Brady Tkachuk now, like my plan.
Hey, listen. You know what? We do what we got to do for the show, right?
Yeah, right. I hear you. All right, so we got a great guest tonight. He played for the Edmonton Oilers, Pittsburgh Penguins, the Rangers, and the Hurricanes, and a couple other teams: Bruins, Devils, Hurricanes,
got
Penguins,
drafted by the Islanders.
Drafted by the Islanders.
Didn't play a game for them, or he would have been one of the rare people who played for all three teams.
Right. Let's see if we got Dan. It looks like he's in. We'll get Dan on. Dan's camera is not on. All right, so we'll wait for Dan to come on. If you're on, Dan, turn your camera on. Oh, there we go. I think I see him now. Dan LaCouture.
Hey, Dan, how are you? This is Jeff Chicola. I know
you know
Anthony Carlucci, or as we call him, Looch.
We can hear you.
Okay, good.
Sorry,
I didn't realize my camera was off.
All right, no problem. We got you. Let's see. I'm just trying to set up the screens here. All right, there we go. We are ready to rock and roll. What's going on, Dan? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Jeff Chicola. I know you know Looch already. So nice to meet you, Dan.
Yeah, we had you on about a year ago on the Bleacher Brothers Network.
Time flies.
Yeah, I know. I was looking back. I said, "Wow, that's a year ago already."
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was like maybe 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, I know, right?
So time sure flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah. So, we've been talking about the NHL playoffs. I don't know if you guys want to get into the NHL playoffs a little bit. If you want to talk about that, we can get a little bit into your hockey,
whatever you guys want.
Your hockey career. So, have you been watching the playoffs, or what's going on?
Yeah, I have been. I actually took my son to the game. It was game 4 of the Bruins Buffalo series at home.
Oh yeah, right.
That was the game that Boston got shellacked. I'm not a huge Swayman fan, but that's. I think Bob Beers said it dead on. It's probably one of the few games where you can't fault the goalie when there's 6 goals allowed. I mean,
Yeah,
it was. I mean, he actually stood on his head, even though there was 6 goals that went in, and if he didn't make the saves that he made, it probably would have been 12-1. But yeah, definitely been following the playoffs for sure. And it's I think what is it 2-1 Buffalo right now?
the series, yes, the game that's
Yeah,
Just started the second
right now is
period.
2-1,
Yep.
right?
2-1 Buffalo just started the second period.
yeah. Buffalo's they got a good team. There's no question about it.
I just don't know what. I mean, Montreal's got a good team, but that Buffalo team is. I don't know. There's something special about them, and
Right.
Yeah, they played at a very high level since they took off mid-season.
yeah.
Sure.
And
Well, these two
Carolina,
teams are going to battle for years in the Eastern Conference. They're both young, they're both super talented, and
yeah. I think maybe. Obviously, I think that Carolina has obviously got the edge in the against Philly. But it's kind of hard to tell who's going to come out of the East. But I think that Colorado's just like too dominant in the West.
Oh yeah,
well,
that's for sure.
Luch
Yeah,
and I talked about on the show how Colorado had the best team. A little worried about their goalie, but what happened? So they won the President's Trophy, his whole curse of the President, so whatever, blah blah blah. What would happen in the playoffs? Were they this much of a wagon? Well, I think they answered that question in the first 2 games, huh? I mean, Minnesota's a very good team, very capable of winning a Stanley Cup, and they just took them apart, Colorado.
yeah. I mean, I watched Minnesota in that first round, and I mean, they're an exceptional team, and Colorado's is playing on a different level.
Yeah, I mean, they got McKinnon and McCarr, 2 of the top 5 players in the world. Then you got
Necas.
I can never say his name. But then you got even Landeskog's back after missing almost 3 years, and he's got 3 goals. His leadership, you go up and down that lineup. I mean, they're
Nichushkin, Valerie Nichushkin.
Yep.
Another good player. They got a good D. Taze and the other D guy they got is really good.
Yeah, local boy Ross
Mason.
Colton, former Mercer Chief.
Yeah, there you go.
Then they got the journeyman Burns back there, who
I forgot he was there.
Yeah, he's trying.
It would be great if they win a Stanley Cup. That guy's been a great player his whole career. He's come close a couple of times with the San Jose teams. I'd love to see Brett Burns lift the cup. It'd be really good for him. Be a good story.
Yeah, it's almost like the Ray Bourque situation.
Dave Andrechuk, what he did. They also got Chris Drury's nephew on that team, Jack Drury. So Dan, you played with him at Boston College, I see, right?
Boston University.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake.
You only played there 1 year?
Yeah, 1 year.
And then what? You went to juniors?
No, I signed with Edmonton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And
So I got traded from the Islanders that summer to Edmonton for Marius Chicola.
I'm trying to remember who he was as a player. Was he any good?
Well, he had 30 something goals in Edmonton that prior year.
Woo! So you got traded for the real deal.
I did. Yeah.
Well, listen, we all know when he got traded to the Rangers with Kovalov, he was the throw in that deal, right?
Yeah, he was. The the thing about that deal was that that deal actually got hung up because Sather wanted me in that deal, but had anybody, I mean, nothing against New York or the fans or anything, but had anybody asked me, I would have, I was perfectly happy in Pittsburgh,
Right.
but Sather was my Edmonton GM in Edmonton, and he wanted me in that deal, but I was already in Pittsburgh for 2 years, and then now I was in my third year there, and I had just bought a house, and I loved it there. I was perfectly happy in Pittsburgh, and I was hoping to play the rest of my career there.
Right.
You
going to
you bring up a good point, which is fans don't realize that when you get traded, it upends your life. Like I don't know if you had young kids back then or a marriage, but still, like sometimes you don't want to get traded because it turns your life upside down.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have kids then. I was just, engaged for the first time in my life, and I just bought my first ever house, and which they say is always the kiss of death when
I've heard that.
buy, buy a house where you're playing, like it's trade time. So that was the last time I bought a house wherever I was playing. But I mean, New York was obviously a great experience, and obviously I wish I was there under different circumstances. There was like it was just like 18 all-stars from every team on that particular team, and it was 18 guys fighting for the limelight that they were used to in their respective cities, and guys like me, Jamie Lundmark and Dale Puritan and a few other guys were the lunch pailers that were just kind of caught in the wake of everything, and we were the ones that we're going to take the brunt of the what was going to happen at the end of the year for not making the playoffs. So
Yeah, they were bad back then.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were worse than bad because, as you brought up, it was a star-driven team, and those guys didn't perform. I mean, Borre would have been great, but he got hurt. It ended his career. Holik wasn't the player he was with the Devils. Brian Leetch was at the end of his career. He was 39. They just, Kasparaitis tried, but
you had Nedved, you had Lindros, Matthew Barnaby was there, Chris Simon, Mark Messier.
Oh, that's right. Messier was back.
Yeah, Messier was there. I mean,
Nice.
you had everybody. Anson Carter, Jaromir Jagr. I mean, that team was just fully stacked and just didn't perform.
Yeah, Malakoff, but they weren't a team, right? It was just a collection of talent that wasn't really a team.
That's why like the best way I can describe it is 18 individuals. And nothing against the guys I played with. I mean, all great guys, but it was just 18 individuals, and that's why I wish I had just stayed in Pittsburgh because I was able to play a lot of minutes and do my thing, and my career was on the uptick.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's another thing fans don't realize. When you get traded to a team, you find a niche, you find a role with a coach and a team, and then you get traded to another one, and it's not the same because they don't value what you bring, or they don't put you in the right situation, and now you get lost. And it's an unfortunate part of the game.
yeah, I feel like my identity was a little really lost when I went to the Rangers. Just because I was, like I said, I was playing a lot of minutes in Pittsburgh, and I was there, one of their top penalty killers with Robert Lang in Pittsburgh, and you know, it was like the year before I was playing on the same line with Mario for like a month, and with Alexei Morozov, and you know, I mean, things were going good for me there, and you know, it's just the luck of the draw.
Talk about going from the penthouse to the outhouse. Whoa, playing with Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
there's one upside of playing on that Ranger team is at least you didn't have to play against Barnaby, who's I bet was a pain in the ass to play against.
Well, he was, because when I was in Pittsburgh and he was with the Rangers, I don't think he was at Tampa. I think he was with Rangers at that point. Shortly before I got traded there, and I think we were on the power play, and I ran over Robert Lang on the power play, my own teammate, and I just remember Barnaby standing in front of our bench, just like talking to our coach about getting me back out there because I was running over my own teammates, and you know, that was like embarrassing, and but I mean, that's just who he was, and like as a teammate, he was a great teammate, and you know, I mean, same with like, you know, a guy like Chris Simon. I mean, I fought him when I was with Pittsburgh, when he was with the Capitals, and then, you know, when we were on the Rangers, we were great friends. And then a few years later, maybe 4 years later, when we were over in Russia, we ended up fighting again. You know, we were on two different teams, you know. But nothing personal. It's just the way, you know, that's just the way it is, you know. So.
Right. Did you have some run-ins with Christoph Oliwa also? Because I know he was a big
Oli
fighter.
I went after Oli in training camp in Pittsburgh because he went after one of our teammates, and I happened to be on the ice, so I went after Oli, and then when he was with the Bruins, he started creating some bullshit on the ice, and so he was still like chirping. So I was lining up for the face-off, and he was still chirping from the penalty box. So I went into the penalty box at the Garden and started fighting the penalty box. I didn't care, you know. But Oli and I are still friends today. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, and again, you know, it's nothing personal.
Right,
you know?
right.
So it's just
you got to answer the bell, right?
It's just part of the game, and you know, part of what you do, and you know, so. But you know, it's all again, like I said, it's nothing personal, and it's, you know, part of the game, and we're all friends off the ice.
Who was the toughest guy you ever fought?
Chris Simon, probably right up there.
Knuckles.
Well, he was done before I joined the league. You talk about Chris Nyland, right?
Oh, Chris Nyland was Knuckles. Yeah. That was his nickname. Chris Simon. He said.
I love Chris Nyland.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't play until the Rangers got him at the end of his career, and he had too many injuries, but man,
yeah, he was done before I joined. I mean, I turned pro when I was in 1997. I mean, I fought Ty Domi. I don't know.
Yep, we talked about it in the last show. We talked about Ty Domi. Had a few run-ins with him.
I think, yeah, definitely 4 times. I think. Chris Neal was a tough fighter. I fought Jeff Odgers in Atlanta when the Thrashers still had a team. Obviously, he was a tough fighter. Eric Goddard was he was a tough fighter. Fought him a couple times. I mean, I fought, you know, pretty much everybody in the league. I just, it wasn't something that I was drafted to do. I happened to be on the ice, and I just never really I never found it in myself to say no.
I'm not saying this to be funny. This is actually true. The problem with fighting Domi is he has and it's just true story, an incredibly thick skull. And he talks about it in his book. So he doesn't feel pain when you get hit because his skull's like this much thicker than everybody else's.
No, it is, but I mean, he was the guy, he was the sort of guy that I didn't, when I was younger, I was like, I was like, I don't know if I want to, play in the NHL against a guy like that. But once I got up there, it was a completely different story, and but yeah, I mean, I did what I had to, and even my first 2 years in the minors, I was scoring. Being the player I was for being drafted, but I still wasn't getting called up. So then, I just started fighting. I lost track of a guy like DJ Smith, but now he's a coach. I don't think he ever really made it up in the NHL, but he was a solid defenseman, and he was a hard-nosed defenseman who I had a lot of great respect for. He played for Toronto's farm team, and I think he broke my nose. Well, he was the first guy to break my nose, but I think he must have broke my nose. I think he broke my nose 4 or 5 times.
Nice.
In in my first couple of years, I turned pro when I was 20. So I think between those first 2 years, he broke my nose 4 or 5 times because he was a good. He could switch it up, right and left, and I lost track of him until I saw him coaching behind the bench with Ottawa a few years ago, and then I just saw him that he was coaching L.A. and he was always a hard-nosed defenseman, so I just started fighting. I was like, all right, well, if I'm scoring all these goals and Edmonton's not calling me up, I'm just going to start fighting, But my issue was, during the lockout, the closest professional team to me was Providence, and I demoted myself down. And, I don't know. I just had a hard time during that year wanting to fight, when all I wanted to do was just play and just keep going,
That's another part of the game that fans, you hear once in a while fighters talk about it, is they don't like to fight. They feel like they have to do it as part of their job. But, some of them talk about the fear of just, you don't want to do it, but you got to do it. And I get it, right? Somebody once said to me, he's like, Jeff, you ever been punched in the face really hard? I'm like, fortunately, no. He goes, well, it hurts. It really hurts. And these guys got to do it every night.
I mean, I signed on with Providence that year to stay in shape and keep my legs going, and I guess I wasn't anticipating the amount of guys that would want to be gunning for me. And
were you an NHLer? Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to demote myself down and have to be fighting, but. So it was kind of a weird, because I was obviously playing either with Patrice Bergeron that year or Brad Boyes. So I mean, obviously I was playing a lot of minutes. Coming from the NHL and joining the Providence Bruins that year during the lockout, and but it was it's kind of a weird year, but that's kind of when things, for guys in my situation where I guess their careers kind of took a turn during that lockout, because coming out of the lockout, even though I came from Switzerland and joined the Bruins at the end of October. I scored my first home game in the Garden, and I still, couldn't seem to get many minutes from my coach, who was a fellow BU guy, Mike Sullivan, and my
Sully.
my identity was always, a penalty killer, and he never used me in penalty killing, and I don't know, it just seemed like he had something against me, and it was just really frustrating. So,
well, he was a BU guy. What would he have against you?
I have no idea. Until this day, I have no idea, and it's just like still cuts me really deep because I could have been, someone that was really helpful to him into the team, and I don't know, it just really it just had my career take a turn, like after that point, and it just really bummed me out, but so.
So you got a chance to play for your hometown Bruins because you grew up in the Massachusetts, right? Up
Yeah.
in Natick. How was that? How was that playing for your home team?
I mean, it was good. It was. I mean, cell phones weren't like. I mean, yeah, we had cell phones, but like, I think text messages were just starting to become a thing. So it was kind of a little bit of a distraction in a lot of ways, playing for your hometown team because you'd have friends that would text you that they're coming into the game. If I could leave them passes, for after the game so they could be down in that corral area, just so like they could say hi, but they also want to be able to see the other players, like from either, our team or from the visiting team. And so it's just kind of like really stressful in some ways because like I was like, all right, I got to try to somehow get, XYZ passes for tonight, and not disappoint so-and-so. And, so it wasn't like when I was in Pittsburgh where I just show up to the rink and, I just did my thing and I can just strictly just focus on what I was doing. In the Penguins organization, they just left me alone. They let me do what I need to do. They played me a ton of minutes. They put me in pretty much every situation, and I was thriving there. And so I mean, obviously, I was excited to play for my hometown team, but there was a lot of distractions that it was a lot. It was a lot.
So let me ask you something. Growing up, so you grew up back in the 80s. What was your youth hockey? Who did you play with your youth hockey with? And there wasn't AAA or Tier 1 back there, right? Back then it was just sort of whatever. So who did you play for, and who did you grow up playing with?
So I played for the my hometown youth program, Natick. My dad was the high school coach.
Real quick, Natick is near the Cape Cod, right?
No, it's just it's only like 20 miles outside of Boston.
Okay.
It's probably like an hour and a half from Cape Cod. So I played for Natick up until my squirt year, up until like I was like 12, 11, no, until I was like 11. And like I said, my dad was the Natick High School hockey coach for a long time. But then the next town over, the arch rival Framingham, they were going into 2 different leagues, which was going to be like double the games. So my father, asked me how I felt about playing for Framingham, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like what? Like I live in Natick. You're the Natick High School coach. What do you mean? He's like, well, this is going to be better for you. And as an 11-year-old kid, like that was like a lot. I had to leave all my friends from Natick who I went to school with, and now go play for the like enemy, and like so I became like a Natick dick on both ends, with the kids from Natick and the kids from Framingham, and but it ended up being like the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Isn't that funny? Doesn't it always work out that way?
Yeah, and like we ended up winning like state championship after state championship after state championship all throughout my years in Framingham. And one of the biggest reasons was because since Framingham was going to be in both leagues, because like now everything's so watered down with like all these travel teams, but back then there wasn't any of that. There was only like the Mini Bruins, the Middlesex Braves, and like the South Shore Kings, and there was only just a set amount of like maybe 12 travel teams, and that was it. So it gave me the opportunity to try out with the Mini Bruins or the Middlesex Braves, the teams that would go to Quebec for the PB tournament. And so I made the Mini Bruins, and that was a big deal. But it just so happened that two of my teammates from that Framingham team also made the NHL.
Who would they be?
Blake Bellafay and Carl Corazzini.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play a lot, but they played in the NHL. So
Three kids from the same team. What are the odds of that happening?
Yeah, I mean, you have a hard time finding that even in like the Canadian youth programs. So to find that in a USA Massachusetts program is remarkable.
So Dan, going through your youth and your high school and into the NHL, who do you think was one of your biggest influences on your path to the NHL?
Well, I always had two posters on my wall or in my room as a kid, and one was Cam Neely and the other one was Mario Lemieux. And those were my two guys I looked up to as a kid growing up. And
Nice.
I remember when I got traded to Pittsburgh and we went to the semifinals that year against New Jersey. That was the year that Ray Bork won it with Colorado. I remember my parents were coming down from Massachusetts to our game in New Jersey, and I had them take off I was probably like 23 years old still. I had them take off the poster off my bedroom door in Natick and had them bring it down. And I just remember at the team breakup party at the end of the year, I rolled it out and I had Mario sign it to me, and he was like, I had not seen this poster in like almost 20 years. So I was like, well, I've had this on my door since I was a little kid, and so I have it. I still have it right here on my wall that he signed it to me. And yeah, he was just one of the greatest all time, like in my opinion, the greatest all time player to ever play the game. If he didn't start like 5 years after Gretzky started, if he didn't have back issues, Hodgkin's disease, didn't retire there for like 4 or 5 years before coming back, I think he would have shattered every record in the book.
Sure.
Without a doubt.
In my opinion, there's four guys, right? Four that are the Mount Rushmore, and they're above everybody else. Gretzky, Lemieux, Howe, and Orr, right?
Yeah.
And Gretzky talks about Lemieux that when he was at his best, he was probably a better player than him. And if he didn't get injured, he would have, definitely challenged a lot of Gretzky's records. In fact, I mean, as it is he challenged them. He had 199 points one year, and I think he missed some games because he was hurt. If I recall.
Yeah, probably. I mean, because like I said, like he had back issues, and then he battled Hodgkin's disease for a long time as well. And I mean, but when he came out of retirement, and I was still in Edmonton, Pittsburgh had tried trading for me that summer before. That was before Lemieux came out of retirement. And then when I saw him come out of retirement around the end of December that year, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I could have been playing in Pittsburgh with my idol. And then 3 months later, I got traded there, and it was like the best 3 years of my life, playing in Pittsburgh and being around a guy like that. And he's just one of those guys that just carries this presence and has this like awe around him. And he just did things on the ice that were just like, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, I remember watching him against the Rangers.
I mean, the Pittsburgh media always gave him a hard time for trying to score off the faceoff, and he finally did it one game when I was there, just to be like, "Yep, I told you I could do it," and like he was that kind of guy. Like whatever he wanted to do, he could do. So
he had 199 points in 1988. It was when he was young, 23 or 24, and he missed 4 games. If he played those 4 games, he might have broke Gretzky's record of 212. Possible.
yeah,
Here's a ridiculous number for you. Playing his 3rd year in juniors, in 70 games, he scored 133 goals and had 149 assists, 282 points. I mean, come on, that's inhuman.
Yeah, I mean that's just who he was. Like he was a rare, special player and human being, and I mean, I didn't win the Stanley Cup, but like my Stanley Cup moment was being able to be his teammate and play on the same line with him, and for me, that was the satisfaction of my career. So,
yeah, listen, you got some. You got to look. You were in the 1% of the 1% who actually made it into the league, had a career, and maybe you weren't Mario Lemieux as a player, but you know what? You got to play with him, and I should assume Yager too, right back then, and a few other. I mean, you played with Ray Bork, I guess was on the team. Ray Bork.
no, I didn't play on the same team as Bork, but I played against.
Oh, you did? They traded him before that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was our defensive coach when I was playing in Boston, but I mean, damn, like he was only 2 years removed. Like, obviously he could have still been playing. He could have been our number 1 or 2 defenseman on that team still. So, but he, I mean, I played against him, and obviously, I mean, I played a ton with him on the Bruins alumni games over the last 15 years. Great guy. Does a lot of great stuff for charity. But I forget what you were just saying before that, though. I was going to allude to something else. The funny thing about I mean, I played with Yager in Pittsburgh and New York, but whenever I played with Kovalev on the line, I always scored. Like it didn't even matter. Like whenever he and I are on the same line, I always scored. So I was always like, I should open him in Baltimore to the coach and been like, listen, just put me out there on the same line with Kobe. Like I'll score. He somehow always finds me and I score. So
nice. So I got there's a question in the chat real quick. I kind of know this guy, but he says, you played with Chris Drury at BU. Is he a better player or a GM?
I think the question answers itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't even know. Like, is he in his 2nd or 3rd year as GM?
I was going to say, if you feel put on the spot because you don't want to be critical of Drury, then don't worry about it.
You
don't have to answer it.
I don't know how long he's been. How long has he been GM there now?
5 years, 4 years. Right now, right, Chris? Looch?
I think so.
Yeah. Ranger fans are very critical of him. I'm not. I think he's done an okay job, and under difficult circumstances, he's never really been able to have his team. He took over a team that was Jeff Gorton players, and now he's getting to build a team that is his philosophy, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was a great player. He came through in big moments, whether it was Colorado or New York or wherever he was playing. I mean, obviously, he and I played together at BU. I mainly played on the same line with Sean Bates my freshman year, but I also played on the same line with Chris Drury at different times that year. He's obviously a hell of a hockey player. I think that he'll get it figured out with the Rangers. I don't know about some of the coaching decisions, but I mean that's obviously I'm sitting here and he's sitting there, so it's not for me to decide. But I think he's experienced enough and knowledgeable enough that he'll get it figured out. So
The guy won at every level, right? He
Yeah.
won a Little League World Championship, but he won high school championships, he won an NCAA championship, and he won a Stanley Cup. The guy knows what he's doing. He knows what it takes to win. So we'll see.
Yeah, let's hope he pulls something off over the summer and get somebody in there to help this team out. Maybe if you lace him back up, Dan, we'll get you in there.
I know.
Get some
Sully
feeds
doesn't like
from
him,
Mika.
so that's not a good fit.
I have to get
right?
my fat butt back in shape, but it's definitely something I've been thinking about the last 15 years.
You did the Boston Marathon a while back too, right? I know we talked about that on the
I
on
did
the
that
show.
5 straight years, and I feel like that destroyed my right knee. Go figure. I played my whole life playing hockey and no knee issues, and then I run 5 straight Boston marathons, and my right knee just becomes a mess. So.
Yeah, I think Chara's still doing it, right? Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, he ran. Yeah, he just ran this past year, just like last month. Yeah,
Wow,
like
nice.
3 weeks ago. So.
How is your? I know we talked about on the show last year too. Your son, you had mentioned your son playing, and how's he doing? How's he making out with hockey?
He's doing really good. Yeah, he's he was a freshman this past year, playing on the varsity team. He's about
What
my
high
height
school?
now. He's about 6'3".
Wow.
He's a big kid, and he can score. He can skate, and I mean he's got a harder shot than I did at that age. I'm not just saying that. Like, I mean, I call a spade, even if he's my own kid.
What's his name? What's his first name?
Luke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Where did he play? What youth hockey clubs did he play with, Dan?
I was his coach at the Bay State Breakers, the elite program here in Massachusetts. That was part of the EHF, and that's like the top youth program here in the this state, and one of the better leagues in the country. And but he's he was probably middle of the pack on that team. Coming along, he was just kind of middle of the pack. And then once he started playing lacrosse, his hockey went right up.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, once he started playing lacrosse, it drastically turned his hockey game around. And he's probably a better lacrosse player, or just as good as a lacrosse player as he is a hockey player. So.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's getting a lot of schools looking at him right now for lacrosse, and but his heart is hockey, and that's
what birth year is he?
I'm sorry.
What's his birth year?
He's 2010.
2010. Okay.
Yeah.
And the high school he's at?
He's at Barnesville High School for right now. He's going to go back there for at least his sophomore year, and then from there, I'm probably going to have to move him somewhere. So,
is he still playing travel?
No, the only travel would be in the fall. I coach the high school fall team, which is a travel team. That's just to get them ready for their high school season. But he's going to have to go play prep school or junior hockey for his junior year. So if he wants to keep moving up and go somewhere for hockey, he's going to have to move beyond his high school team. So it's the same thing I had to do. So
You said that's where his heart's set on hockey. Then
Yeah, no, his heart is set on hockey. So
nice.
he loves it. It's again, it's his own. It's his doing. It's not that he has to follow in dad's footsteps or anything like that.
Yeah,
He doesn't. If he wants to do lacrosse, he can do lacrosse. Makes no difference to me. But he's got a passion for hockey and he loves it. And I don't have to tell him to go out in the driveway or in the garage to shoot pucks or to rollerblade or do any of that. Like he does that all on his own.
nice.
So he's got it inside of him. Something that you can't teach. So
No, and you can't push a kid. He either wants it or he doesn't.
Yeah, like as soon as you start telling someone like, "Hey, listen, you got to be doing this, you got to be doing that," then like, it's pointless. They you got to want it. You're on your own, and that's even when I was a kid. Like, my dad was a high school coach, and I had two older brothers that played. Like, I still came home from school and found myself either playing street hockey or doing whatever I had to do to keep bettering myself, and so.
So
Yes, that's something I don't need to tell them.
So
Yeah.
are you still doing some of the Boston alumni games? I thought I saw something with you had your kid out there on the ice with the alumni.
Yeah, that wasn't this past year. That was the year before. But I did one game this year. I used to do a whole bunch, anywhere between like 20 and 30 games out of the 45. But it's just been hard with Luke's hockey schedule, and now he's gotten older, his games are later and they conflict, and so I'm gonna get back to playing more games. It's just been hard with his his schedule with hockey or lacrosse. So, but I'll get back to playing more games.
Nice.
I gotcha.
So, you have any more questions? We're almost at the.
Listen, we
8:50
can talk
mark.
all night. You know what I mean? We can pick his brain all night, but we got other stuff we got to get to. So you know what? I'll stop it there because, like I said, I have a million other questions I want to ask you, but it's all good. We'll have you back.
Okay.
It was a pleasure having you, Dan.
Where could people follow you? What's going on in your life now, and maybe they can follow you on socials or.
Yeah, they can look me up on Facebook, Daniel LaCouture, or same with Instagram. I think it's the same, Daniel LaCouture or LaCouture Daniel. But yeah, they can look me up at those two places. So nothing crazy. So I tried getting the Snapchat thing going, but my two kids kicked me off. So they're like, "Dad, this is not for adults." So they're like, "You got to get off." So I'm like, "All right." So I deleted it.
Yeah, I do the Facebook thing, and I had a hard time getting on Instagram, but I, decided to do it with the podcast and everything. So it took me a little while to get on Instagram myself. So I get what you're saying. I appreciate you coming on, Dan.
Thanks, guys.
It's always awesome having you on, and we'll definitely get you back on again and talk some hockey.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great seeing
awesome,
you guys.
Dan. Yep.
All right,
thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
Anytime, Dan. I'll look you up on Facebook. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too, buddy.
All right, bye.
All right. That was
An interesting guest.
Yeah,
Dan's
Dan's
different perspective,
Right. No, he's a good guy. Dan's a good guy. Chat with him a little bit on Facebook, and shoot him a text once in a while. Seems like a good guy, and like to see what his kid does. I mean, it's a tough road to the NHL, but you never know. You see a lot of these kids, last names that are familiar to us. We were talking about Mel Holtra, with being in the draft from Manny Malhotra, and Jimmy Dowd had his kids in the not in the NHL, but trying to make it to the NHL. Lot of kids that have an opportunity to make it these days into the NHL. Dan's a good guy.
Listen, you never know. Kids are late bloomers. Speaking about Haltra, like he was not at the beginning of the year. He was not looked as a top, maybe a first round pick, late first round. He's exploded up the draft rankings, and now it looks like he's going to go in the top 5.
Yes, I see. There's predictions of third with Vancouver being the Vancouver pick. 2 people, Kimmelman and
Yeah, I saw that too.
Moriel, Caleb Malhotra going to Vancouver possibly. I mean, anything can happen, but you're showing him at third. And then I was looking at the Rangers, Chase Reed and Carson Carrells. So we'll see what happens.
I've seen him too. So after, as we talked about last night, maybe we get into a little more now. We have time. There's a big drop off. The consensus top 2 were Stenberg and McKenna. It had been all year Chase Reed, Verhoff, McKenna, and Stenberg. Though Corey Proman, who writes for the Athletic and is a longtime follower and of draft prospects and evaluating and writing him, he has Verhoff rated first overall. He's a defenseman from North Dakota. But Malhotra is shot up in most draft rankings, and it's so much so that they're talking that he won't be available for the Rangers at 5, and he would have been a good pick. I don't know about that. We'll see. It's kind of compared to Bennett. We talked about Bennett Seneke last night.
Yeah,
that's who he's being compared to, because Seneke came up out of nowhere last year and then went third overall, which wasn't predicted. So we'll see about Malhotra. The interesting thing is going to be San Jose at 2, because they desperately need high-end defense prospects. But Greer has said he's going to take the best player available, not draft for need. Well, a lot of people think that Reed or Carson Cartels or even Smits is one of the second or third best player in the draft. So he might go that way. Look, I said this last night. I'm a big believer in you take the best player available. You don't draft for need. You don't take a guy. If it's this close, it's understandable, right? But if it's this close, you don't draft for need. But at some point, it's counterproductive to have all these high-end prospects if they draft Stenberg, because there's not enough ice time to go around and develop them, right? So at some point, it's a better strategy. But as I said, I got a plan that works for everybody, solves everybody's problems. Okay? You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
People have been waiting all day for this. Not that complicated, Looch.
Right.
Very simple. The Rangers can trade the 5th overall pick for Michael Misa. Right?
Right.
Now follow me here. San Jose at that point, right? They get to take Stenberg second, right? Now and he's a replacement for Misa, right? And they have the 5th pick, so they can take Cartels, they can take Reed, whoever they want. Right?
Yeah.
How could that fail?
I hope Chris Drury's listening. Maybe he's.
Me too. But listen, if I got to tell him what to do, then we got bigger problems than that.
We did
we talked about it mid-season. There were some rumors about the Rangers, around the trade deadline that San Jose was interested in Schneider, and they really need defensemen. And I think I threw out a proposal like I'd love to trade in a deal for trade Schneider and get Misa in a deal for Schneider. Never worked. It didn't happen. But look, all kidding aside, I think it'd be great for the Rangers. I don't think it's a bad deal for San Jose. They may want more than the 5th overall pick, because Misa might be, he's a 2nd overall pick. He's been a top high-end prospect his whole life, and they might see, Misa as way better than anything else they could take with the 5th pick, and they might not want to do it. We'll see.
Right.
But I think it's a proposal that works for both. Maybe the Rangers have to throw in a little more. But I think it would solve the Rangers' problems, right? They'd have a dynamic, high-end center who's going to score 100 points a year, which they're dying for, and that guy's not in the draft after McKenna. Well, I shouldn't say that. That guy might be there. We don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We talked about last night about after Stenberg and Misa, that those are considered the they're separate from everybody else when it comes to, a dynamic forward scoring, whatever. But you never know. There's guys out there that might turn out to be, like turn into that guy. You just don't know yet. But I also said, it's not like the Rangers aren't going to get a good player at 5, right? Tynan Lawrence, if it was Malhotra, and a whole host of guys. But I thought of a good comparison today. If people want to, try to understand what I'm saying is the center prospects or the forwards that are available, they're more like a Jonathan Toews type than they are a Macklin Celebrini. And what do I mean by that? Well, Jonathan Toews is a Hall of Fame, a great player, but he never scored more than 70 points a year. But he was a great two-way player, right? And anybody would want Jonathan Toews. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Toews because, I signed up for that right now. What I'm saying is they're more like that, not as dynamic, just great two-way, big, play the game the right way. They could score points, but they bring so much more to the table. That is what I'm trying to, get across with most of these prospects. However, there's always a guy out there, right? Jason Robinson went in the second round. Wyatt Johnson went in late in the first round. Those guys exist. Who knows? There's somebody out there that's going to surprise everybody.
Yeah, one of my favorite players there, Wyatt Johnson. I like that kid.
He's a good player.
Can't say nothing bad about him.
So
that's for sure.
If I'm Chris Drury, look, I don't know. I don't scout these guys like they do. They have everything. But I would not touch Verhoff. Right? So as I said, Corey Proman has him number 1. Central Rankings had him in the top 5, but others like Scott Wheeler is another draft guru at the Athletic, has him 9th, I think. He's dropping out of the top 10. And here's why, I wouldn't touch him. I don't think his ceiling is that great. If Verhoff turns into the best player he can be, you're talking about a guy that's a decent first pair. You know what I mean? I don't. He's not, and I don't think his skating's very good. And the Rangers have enough slow guys; they don't need him. Chase Reed, it's a different story. But
right.
And then the other interesting guy. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just looking through the draft. It looks like they have.
I sent you that link last night. Did you get it?
Yeah. Like I see Verhoff. They're predicting him going to Seattle 7th. So hopefully the Rangers, like you said, maybe they'll pass him up. And
a lot of draft writers, right? Or they always do. It's way too early. Look at the the draft. It's like 9. They do it in the summer of the before, did it back in September. At that time, when Corey Proman did his on the Athletic, he had Chase Reed 27th.
Oh.
A couple of months later, he's the first. He has him as the first overall pick. He had him going to the Rangers, by the way, in his mock draft at 27. So, Chase Reed played in the NAL 2 years ago. That's how. And then he did really well. He got brought up to the OHL. And then he just excelled and took off. Meanwhile, there's I'll see if I can say his name right, Milan Villamo, who plays in the QMJHL. He was considered last year to be the first overall pick. He's a dynamic offensive defenseman, dynamic. He's a little on the small side, but he had a rough year. He got hurt. He's a guy now projected to go in the middle of the late first round, and somebody might be another late Hudson where somebody gets a steal with him. But, he's not big, but he's super dynamic. And, we'll see. The Rangers are going to get a good player at 5. Hopefully he'll develop. But, maybe I was overly negative last night is because McKenna changes everything, right?
Oh.
Because just the way it did for Toronto, right? So if the Rangers draft McKenna, now they got that player that can help to elevate them, right? There's so much more, offensive talent. A guy who can score 100 points, maybe not right away. He's got to develop or whatever, but it changes everything. That retool now is taking another leap, and you can foresee them competing for a cup in a year or 2, 3 years. It also, as I said, the most upsetting part of me is it took Austin Matthews out of play. I'm telling you right now, I read it. He was not. He said to the Maple Leafs, he's not committing to play for them even this year, right? Yeah. Until he sees what the plan is and what happens. And we talked about this over the past couple of months, and I said I have a feeling maybe he'll give him another half a year or a year, but he's going to want out of there because they're not going to be able to rebuild off this. And if you saw that draft, if you saw that press conference when they hired Shaky the other day, it was nasty, right? The media went after the executive at Rogers because of Chaka, and why were they hired? It was just nasty, and you should go check it out. Yeah. That place was on its way. There's no way he was going to stay there, right? It was about to be a hell on earth, right? For that, the fans were going to be against him. They were going to have to rebuild. And then they're going to be booing him and criticizing him. He's smart enough, though. So he took a wait and see attitude, but he would have seen enough to know that this ain't going anywhere. Now, right? It changed everything for them, even more so than the Rangers, because the Rangers weren't going like this, if they didn't, like Toronto was. I'm telling you, man, they were in the gutter, and now everything's possible now.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? So one little pick, you win the lottery. Basically, they won the lottery.
The negativity up there was getting to, because look, that's the most rabid fan base, the most popular team in the world. Toronto's such a mad hockey city. They've talked for years about putting a second franchise in there because that's how popular hockey is. And they haven't won a Stanley Cup in over 60 years, right? They thought, look, if you're a Maple Leaf fan 10 years ago and you got Marner and Matthews and Riley Smith and Tavares they signed and, Nylander, you got to think you're going to win a Stanley Cup. I know I would.
Right.
I'd be thinking, we're going to win a Stanley Cup someday. 10 years later, they haven't got past the second round. And they're bitter. And now, so it changed everything for them. And I read something today by one of their beat writers on the Athletic talking about possibilities where they might, if they don't draft McKenna, maybe they trade the pick to accelerate their rebuild. If or maybe they take the defenseman because they've never had the high-end defenseman since Riley Smith was in his prime, and I'm like, there's no way that's going to happen, not a chance. Okay?
Yeah,
Because, and I wouldn't either. You're talking about a corporate ownership, right? And if I don't know if you follow basketball when what's his name, Nico, whatever his name is, traded Luka Doncic. When I heard that story, I thought it was a practical joke, and if I said at the time, if he came into me as I was the owner and he said, "This has to be traded," even McKenna, Chase said, listen, we're thinking about making trading that pick or taking Chase Reed. I'm gonna say, what did you just say? No, that's not gonna happen. Listen, do me a favor, go back to your office, right, and start making a plan. We're drafting McKenna, okay? That's the end of it. You figure it out from there, all right? Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
If they take somebody that doesn't work out with that, no way. And corporate ownership, they know how many season tickets and the jerseys and everything else they're going to sell off of McKenna. It won't happen. No way. I mean, if McDavid, they offer McDavid for it, maybe, but it's not going to happen.
No.
He's going to end up there. We'll see what happens with the second pick or whatever, But then again, this guy Chake is an idiot, right? We know that from his time in Arizona. But you know what? The guy is smart enough to have bullshitted his way into that job, and I'm sure he told the Rogers people, he had a plan and convinced them of what he could turn this around quickly, right? So the guy's not going to go away and trade McKenna. He was never going to get a job in the NHL again. He's not going to. The guy's too shrewd for that. So,
well, we will see. June 26th is the first round of the draft out in Buffalo.
I can't wait.
Yeah. That's another definitely another thing to look forward to from the NHL and hockey, without a doubt. Well, we got a score tonight of the Montreal and Sabres game. Sabres are up 4-2 in the third period.
You know what? Good for the Sabre fans, man.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 years without the playoffs, and then they had, I think I've talked about this before. They had the dream scenario, right? Two high-end, dynamic centers in Eichel and Reinhart, and they traded them both away. And they went on to win Stanley Cups. Imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, being a Buffalo fan, that was brutal. Brutal 15 years for them. So good for them.
Right. Well, Eichel was hurt for a while, too, right? And his future was a little uncertain there for a while when he got hurt.
They came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
They were struggling all year, and all of a sudden they went on a roll. But I mean, they got a generational defenseman in Rasmus Dahlin. They got Tate Thompson. They got first round picks up and down that roster. They got Byron Bowen, right? They got Owen Proctor, another first overall pick, right?
Yeah.
So
I think we were picking Buffalo to win that series. Buffalo and Montreal. How about the Carolina Hurricanes? They're 6-0 in the playoffs. Who's gonna beat them? I don't think Philly's gonna beat them. We'll
I don't
see
think so
about
either.
that. Yeah, I don't see Philly beating them. I mean, Philly's got a good team, but I just don't think they're there yet. I think they got a few more years with Gruyere and what's his name over there building that team. Talk. It's
Well, they're
good coach. I
6-0,
think.
right?
Yeah, 6-0. Yeah, Carolina's freaking just
Well, you know how I feel
playing
about
great.
the Hurricanes, right? And
Yeah,
about Brindamore, and how I
right.
think they're just overhyped with the whole analytic thing, and and then when they get up against the team, Brindamore holds their talent back and all that. But this year, the path is clear for them. Once Tampa
Yeah.
Bay went down, right? Like, so they beat who they beat in the first round. I forgot. Remind me.
No,
I'm already forgetting.
Carolina built. They beat Ottawa. Ottawa.
Okay, so Ottawa was
They
was a
swept
cupcake.
them. They
The
swept them.
Flyers, are over their skis. They weren't as good as this. So
Right.
like, it's
Right.
not, Carolina's too good and too experienced for them. So they got an easy path to the Eastern Conference Finals. Then they're going to eat them either Montreal or Buffalo, talented teams. But I've talked about this a lot. It turns out I've been wrong about it, but they're still young, right?
Yeah.
Are you really going to go 15 years without the playoffs for Buffalo and come forward again and make them finals? I don't know. Same thing with Montreal. Teams don't usually do that. It's possible. But I think they got a clear path to the finals where, they'll play Colorado and get swept like they did by Florida every year.
Hmm. Yeah, Carolina. I like Carolina. I like the way I don't really like them as a team, to be honest with you. There's a few players I like. I like the way Eric Robinson's playing there. He's a New Jersey guy.
boy.
Yeah, he was grew up out there by Sewell, New Jersey, near the Goudreaus.
Hollydale played at Hollydale.
Yeah, played at Hollydale. He was under Guy, I think, for a long time. And
He did. He played for Gee. I think he might have played at Gloucester High School for Gee too.
right, Buddy Robinson and Eric Robinson, two good players that are.
And they imagine if they win a Stanley Cup, you got two Jersey boys on that team, Colton and Eric Robinson.
Yeah.
They probably played against each other. I would imagine they're the same age.
Right. And
then
then
we talked about with LaCouture. I'd really like to see Brett Burns win a Stanley Cup final. That'd be really good. That'd be a great story.
That's another team over in the West. I mean, geez, who's going to beat Colorado? 6-0 also over there in the West. I mean, they're just a powerhouse. I know we brought it up with Dan, but I mean, do we see a Colorado Carolina Stanley Cup final? I think that's kind of where my head's going. And
when we talked about Carolina before the playoffs, Colorado, we both picked them to win the Stanley Cup. But the caveat being, hey, sometimes you have a great year, you win the President's Trophy, you're not, and then you get stuck up on in the playoffs or whatever, and they gotta beat two good really teams to get there first. Not first the first team. They'd have to beat either Dallas or Colorado in the second round, and maybe Vegas in the third round. So maybe but I think they've shown the last two games, barring an injury or something crazy, they're going to the finals. They're the best team. They could be beat. It happens all the time, right? They could be beat. Vegas beat them a couple of years ago when they were a heavy favorite, didn't they? And then before Colorado won the Cup, I think.
Listen, if Colorado and Carolina, I have a good idea. I don't know if they're going to go for it, but I think if they both make it to the finals, to the Stanley Cup Finals, I think they need to play the games, all 7 games, on the Weather Channel, because
why?
Because it's going to be the Avalanche and the Hurricanes.
That's an interesting take on things.
Imagine they played all 7 games on the Weather Channel. You got the first. Would that be the first time? The Hurricane and Avalanche.
I think it would be a problem since TNT and ESPN played billions of dollars for the right to broadcast them. But
I think it's an interesting take.
Anything's possible, Luke.
Yeah.
But
man.
I thought after the first round, Minnesota looked really good. The way that was a good team they beat. They took command. I thought, I still would favor Colorado, but I thought Minnesota might be able to beat them. They still might. Who knows? But man alive, as Colorado looked,
yeah.
They go with 14 goals in 2 games against a team that's pretty good defensively.
Yeah, let me see. I wrote down a few things. What did I write down? Hurricane. What was it? Oh, geez. If it's going to stop 19 goals in 3 games, 23 goals in 4 games. I mean, they
And,
scored 9 in 1 game, but still.
The other thing we talked about, right, was that, why they might get beat is their goalie. Is Wedgwood good enough? Well, when you're scoring 9 goals, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Or even
So-
5 goals a game. We're not trying to beat a team that scores 5 goals. I guess the other thing, and again, we've talked about this a lot, about the whole analytics belief that you don't need a Shusterska as a goalie. You're better off paying a goalie $11 million. You're better off paying, instead of having a top-notch goalie $11 million, getting a good goalie at $6 million, and using that other $5 million to build depth and defense, because you could defend in a lot of different ways, but also puck possession has become the big thing over the last 10, 15 years. And that's the thing about Colorado, that you're not going to really test Wedgwood as much because they have the puck all the time,
Yeah.
So we'll see, though. Who knows, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've learned in hockey over and over, many times over the years, is that anything is possible,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Teams that look unbeatable all of a sudden are beatable,
After the regular season, it's when the playoffs start, it's a whole new season.
It really is.
Just get into the playoffs and go from there. I mean, you got guys that step up, some guys that become heroes.
Like I said, you don't know. Somebody can get injured. McKinnon and McCarthy get injured.
Right.
You don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sold on their goalie. If they get into a tough series and, the goalie doesn't perform, they're going to go down,
Mm-hmm. Ain't that the truth?
Isn't that right, Edmonton?
Yeah. Oh God. Let's not go there. Whew.
Well, then Colorado, who was the goalie when they won the Stanley Cup? They ended up trading him to Seattle, right? What's his name? Can't remember right now. So they won a cup with a mediocre goalie. I don't even think he's in the NHL anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they look better. They look miles ahead of everybody.
Sure
and
do.
They're probably going to play Vegas. I don't think the Mammoths are going to beat him. But you never know.
No. Yeah, the Mammoth are out. Vegas is playing Anaheim.
What am I talking about? You're right. They already beat that. They already beat the Mammoth. What am I talking
about? we got Vegas and Anaheim. I mean, Anaheim's, they got a good team, but I think they're still too young too. I mean, you got Kreider and Trouba over there, but I just don't think they're made to, especially if they get to see Colorado. I don't see them beating Colorado. It's like night and day.
Could they upset, even though they're young? Could they upset Vegas? Yeah, we've seen that before. We've seen a young team get in the playoffs, win a couple of rounds, but I don't see them. I mean, that team's not going to get past Colorado.
No,
I don't think they're going to be Vegas, to be honest with you.
Right. I don't see Eichel letting that happen.
With house money, you know what I'm saying? Like
right. Just go all out, see what happens.
Yep,
they got there.
Sure.
So
I mean, what else do we need to talk about on your little list here? What do we got?
I think that's about it. What I might do is just going to bring up the. Hold on one second. We just had a little blip. Gaudreau Family 5K. It's coming up in 10 days on May, 15th in Sewell, New Jersey. So we got the Gaudreau Family 5K. If you guys want to get on, go to Family 5K to GaudreauFamily5K.org. Sign up, donate, whatever you guys could do. Donate $10, $15, $20, $100, whatever you want to donate. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. It's going to be a fun walk. You could still go out even if you haven't signed up. You could still check out the festivities out there in Sewell. I'm going to be heading out there. Me and my wife, we got on the 2K.
When is it?
The 2K walk. It's Saturday. The 15th.
This coming Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's in about 10 days.
I'll be on a scouting mission in Boston. So
I'm sorry. It was the 16th. The 16th. 10 days.
Tournament that weekend. I
got nice. Yeah, a lot of things going on that weekend. I saw a whole bunch of stuff. I says, I'm heading out there, so I'm not going to miss that. That's a good event to go to. We went last year. I didn't get in on a 5K. I didn't sign up in time. It sold out on me. But this year I got in on the 2K walk. So
They raised an unbelievable amount of money.
Sure did. Yeah, built a playground out
$1 million
that way.
Was it? I don't remember, but
yeah, they had 500. This year they're probably going to. I'm assuming they're going to blow that record away.
What do they? I know last year they used the money to build that park for the special needs school that Johnny and Maddie used to volunteer at, and where their aunts worked for years. What do they use the money for this year?
I think it's for kids, less fortunate kids, to help them with sports and just. I'm not 100% sure what all of the proceeds are going to go to, but I know that they're going to help out less fortunate people. And
youth hockey's gotten so expensive.
Right.
There's kids out there and families that need money. Like Black Bear, the big owner of all the rinks that get criticized, they have a scholarship fund where if you write them a letter and if the kid wants to play for one of their teams and they don't have money, write them a letter and the reason why, they'll give you free tuition. I know, I shouldn't say this because, he doesn't want me to talk about this, but you know what? He gets a lot of criticism, so I'm going to. George Haviland every year gives a lot of kids free tuition to play for the Titans. And I know, because I've been there many times and I've seen it. And he always says to me, don't tell anybody, right? He doesn't want anybody to know. So, but I've seen it many times. The guy's done a lot to help, he gets criticized for being, taking advantage of people and the parents and, overcharging, blah, 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 all that stuff. But the guy has given away, he's a lot of kids, him and Jimmy Solday have let a lot of kids play for free there. They don't want it talked about, but screw them. I'm going to tell them. My son doesn't play there anymore, so they can't do anything to me. And they deserve the recognition. So,
yeah, I got you.
And Snyder, the owner of the Flyers, has the Snyder program, which is given is literally like gone into inner cities. They got young African Americans to play, and I think if you last 5 years in that program, your tuition's played for the rest of your youth hockey career.
Wow.
So
I was trying to look up what some of the proceeds this year are going to go to, but I think they're going to just, like I said, some less fortunate kids.
So one more note, when you're done with the good news, I want to talk about something real quick. Speaking of charity.
Go ahead.
So for the first time ever, I'm going to be coaching teams in the Mikey Nichols tournament. You've heard of the Mikey Nichols, right?
Yes.
June 19th to the 21st. If anybody's out there watching, text me at 908-456-7327. If you want your son or daughter to play, I may have a spot for them. But I'm looking forward to it. It's always been a great tournament. My son never played in it, and I never coached in it. But this year, I'm putting some teams together, and I can't wait. It's always the most popular tournament in New Jersey. Where all attracts all the top players. They all want to play in it. They're friends with each other, against each other, because so it ends up being great competition, and it's such a great cause. The atmosphere is great. It's competitive but respectful. It's always a fun tournament, and like I said, for those who don't know, the Mikey Nichols Foundation was named after Mikey Nichols, who's still alive. 13 years ago, he got paralyzed from the neck down in an accident on the ice in a high school hockey game, and he's dedicated the rest of his life to raising money to help others with spinal cord injuries, with their needs, whatever that is. And so it's a good cause. And if you're not, I don't have the link to it, but go online and donate if you can't play in the tournament or whatever. It's for a good cause, and the money is well spent. So.
Right. Nice. All right, so we'll wrap it up, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 8:00. We're going to try to get a guest on, or we're just going to go me and you.
We're going to get Drury we're going to get Drury and Greer on here.
And Greer,
the therapist, right? The therapist. I'm going to bring them together, right? They're good friends, right? And I'm going to, convince them. Listen, Greer, help your old buddy Drury out here. Come on, and vice versa.
I think this sounds like a good trade and a good transaction between the two of them. Two good friends.
Yeah, all kidding aside, you know, I always read these things where fans propose trades, and it's always a lopsided trade for one for the other, and that doesn't work. Any GM will tell you that they go into a trade not trying to win a trade. You know, they go in a trade that's going to work for both teams. Those are the best trades. This is a trade that makes sense. Now, Greer might, like I said, Greer might value Misa more than the 5th pick where we get, but you know, it allows him to get the two things. You know, get Stenberg and the defenseman, or maybe he thinks Misa's better than Stenberg. I don't know, but it's a deal that makes sense. It could, you know, so it's not outrageous. We'll see.
All righty. We will be back next Wednesday, so keep an eye out for us, guys. Facebook, YouTube, we'll put it out there. We are out for now. I appreciate
Thanks for listening and watching, guys, as always.
We will talk during the week, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, Luch.
Yep.
Have a good one, brother.